Compared to space travel, the digital world, and airplanes, bikes don't seem to be all that significant. But life is made better by the small conveniences. In fact, the smaller things are the ones that are the most relevant to everyday life. Today, mountain bikes are used for both exercise and commute, but not too long ago, there were no mountain bikes. Until the early 70s, when a group including Otis Guy, Joe Breeze, and Charlie Kelly began to ride modified newspaper delivery bikes on Mount Tam. They called these clunkers, and they became the first mountain bikes.
Their bikes were just fun. They were great to go on Mount Tam and enjoy all the trails that would take you like all day to hike. You could do it like 2 or 3 hours. And then when I started the fire department, I'd ride the bike down there, and these different firefighters who weren't into bikes at all thought these bikes were very fun. So Joe and I both thought, not only are these bikes great for riding on Mount Tam and on the dirt anywhere, but also they're great as bicycles as transportation. So we were more into bicycles as transportation too, because most people don't want to be on drop bars with skinny tires with bikes that are getting flats.
After riding on their own for some time, in 1976, the group held a downhill race they called Repack, named after the act of having to repack one's brake hubs after the race. After the first race, the group found that the participants enjoyed it, which caused the group to hold it again many more times afterward. Repack gained popularity, and soon people began to improve their bikes to stay ahead of the competition.
And the difference was, I think there are lots of people that were kids that rode mountain bikes or bikes in the dirt. And so we were certainly not the first. But the difference was we were actually hooked into the industry. So instead of just being some long-haired kids that nobody really gave a crap what they said, what we actually said has something to had gravitas, actually meant something. So we could get, better rims made, better tires made, handlebars, different things. So we had a knowledge of the industry. We all worked in bike shops, ran bike shops, built bicycle frames, all that, raced.
In October 1973, a young man by the name of Otis Guy first put his hands on a bike owned by Mike Vendetti. Otis & Co. had unsuspectingly walked into a hobby with major potential. Many of the riders of these proto-mountain bikes, World War II mail bikes called clunkers, did not realize that something which seemed like a temporary fad of their generation would soon become a defining feature of Central Marin.
Well, we first started riding mountain bikes in October of 1973. Both Joe Breeze and I were introduced to the right type of old mountain bikes to ride by a guy named Mark Vendetti, who's actually the president here at the Marin Museum of Bicycling. We were all racing on the road in those years, so I still race on the road a bit. And for both Joe and I were very into old bikes. We're here at the Marin Museum of Bicycling. All those bikes over there from the Igler collection, Joe and I saw way back in the early 70s, so we were always looking for old bikes. In fact, that Ordinary right there is a bike that I worked a whole summer for free at a bike shop in 1971. So I was already into old bikes, and so was Joe, and so was Mark.
Between the first Repack race and today, mountain bikes have undergone many changes. At first, some modifications were taken directly from motorcycles. These modifications included the first shocks and were haphazardly applied to bicycles. Soon gears followed, and mountain bikes began to look more like they do today.
The first bike in this line of images is a rigid mountain bike, which means it has no suspension. Many, if not all, early bikes had no suspension. This type of mountain bike is still somewhat popular in adventure bikes for its simplistic design. The second type of bike is a hardtail bike, which means it has no rear suspension, but has front suspension. There is also a soft tail, which means it has very little rear travel to reduce trail roughness and increase ride quality. This style of mountain bike is popular with trail and cross-country biking for its efficient pedaling platform and hill climbing ability. The third type of mountain bike is a full suspension, which means it has suspension in the front and rear. This gives it the ability to descend faster than other bikes due to it having a shock in the rear, instead of just relying on the rider's legs. The greatest benefit to this bike class is its downhill capabilities. The disadvantage is that it loses out on pedaling efficiency and overall weight due to the rear linkage and shock being heavy.
Just like anything else, a dirt motorcycle works great in the dirt, but it's not great in the pavement. And a street motorcycle works great in the street, but not in the dirt. So it's a matter of what you want to use for whatever you have for. A pickup truck is great for carrying a whole lot of stuff, and a Honda Civic's not going to do very well for carrying a ton of gravel. So you're just looking at what the specific need is. Though the nice thing about mountain bikes are that they do transfer well just to being bikes as transport. so they may not be as fast as a road bike, but they can still get you around pretty well. But all bikes now there's cyclocross bikes. Now they have adventure bikes, which are kind of like cyclocross bikes. There's so many different forms of cycling now, which is great. Just the more people we get on bikes, that was the whole point of helping start the whole mountain bike revolution, was to get more people on bikes. That was the point, so it's definitely been successful.
Today, there are many mountain biking competitions, and the repack is still held annually. The sport is even part of the quadrennial Summer Olympics. Mountain bikes have changed a lot, and today they are much lighter and much more efficient than when the clunkers were first built. There are even electric mountain bikes. And last but not least, they remain to be quite useful when commuting.